Aloha, beautiful people. Welcome to A Better World with Adrienne. I'm really grateful to drop in with you today about a really, really important topic, a really, really important process, and a major download I had in the past week before I'm recording this episode. So, this episode is for you if you are down to explore the idea of more, if you are down to explore the idea of what it means to purge your life, what it means to step into possibility in your life, and the truth about emotional alchemy. Because I've noticed in myself, and I'm noticing in the collective, a deep, deep, deep cycle of purging. And it's very, very precise. It's very, very required. And it's something that the spiritual space really gets wrong, in my opinion, most of the time. And so I'm really excited to share my download on this and let it support you in your journey toward a better world. Because when we talk about a better world, it automatically sheds light on the fact that this world stands to be improved. And that comes with a lot of emotional alchemy when we are in deep relationship with, yes, the vision that we're creating, and not bypassing what's going on in current reality, right? So before we dive into this episode, let us call upon the altar. The altar is saying thank you in advance to spirit. I have count them, 5 Ganeshas. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. 5 removers of obstacles between your truth and your emotional alchemy, just any obstacles that might be in your path or in this transmission. Help us clear those obstacles. I have a white rose representing purification, the divine feminine, and the heart center of the world. I have all of the throat chakra crystals. I have my blue agate crystals, blessing the truth of myself and blessing the truth of all people, blessing the truth of you, blessing the ears to listen, to receive new information. And I have a white unscented candle burning, blessing our space, blessing this transmission for the highest timeline and good of all, and good of all, and good of all. No matter where you're tuning in from, let us take our 3 deep breaths together. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Allow your body to land right here, right now. Inhale through the nose. Feeling a pink light of unconditional love wrap around your whole body, knowing that this podcast is different. Exhale out the mouth. One final inhale through the nose. Allowing yourself to take up space, allowing yourself to be big, to be bold, to be real. Exhale out the mouth. If you closed your eyes, gently flutter them open. Welcome to this time, this space, this day, this location, and this transmission. So this podcast, this topic is called, Is There More? Is there more? And I'm going to start this out with a story from my life and my journey. And this is part of how I teach, is just sharing stories in my life, because I know that my experience is just a mirror for others. We're all in this human experience. We're all on this path of personal growth and self-mastery and the spiritual ambition of becoming the true version of ourselves and creating the vision that really matters for not only your heart and your desires and your dreams, but for the whole world. And so part of the way that I share my wisdom is through stories. This is how I teach, and this is how things really pull through. So I'm going to start with a story. Is there more? Is there more? Is there more? I have been going through a lot of emotional purging, especially in the week before recording this episode. I have cried so much. I have been on the floor of my apartment sobbing. I've been in this forest sobbing. I have been really like doing so much breath work and so much visceral release in my life. And I don't know if I've ever experienced this level of purging before. I don't think I have, to be honest. I don't think I've experienced this. Maybe the other two close times in my life were when I broke up with a guy I thought I would marry and was experiencing grief for months and months and months. And then during COVID, I just cried like probably once a week. I would just cry really, really, really hard. And I didn't really have a word or a reason for it other than like, oh, there's a global pandemic and like, I'm just processing this. So me and my life lately, I've just been processing a lot of emotion, a lot of just visceral, raw emotion that it feels like it's coming out of the depths of my body. It's coming out of the depths of my soul. And I want to share this because there's a lot of stuff out there in the spiritual community. I really want to make this episode because it's like, where is the line between spiritually bypassing emotions and drowning in your emotions and getting caught up in your emotions and letting your life be at the mercy of the emotions, okay? And I noticed that people either swing one way or the other, all right? People will either be like super spiritual bypassy and be like high vibe only, like maintain positive thoughts, like law of attraction, blah, 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 blah. And is that stuff true? Yes. Is it incomplete? Yes, because it doesn't allow for the full breadth of the human experience. And that leads to stuffing down emotions. That leads to numbing your life. Because when you numb uncomfortable emotions, you also numb the amount of pleasure, the amount of joy, the amount of abundance, the amount of wealth, the amount of bliss, ecstasy, expansion that you can access in your life. So what people do when they're like, high vibe, high vibe, high vibe, you numb your ability to be a full-fledged human. You numb every edge of life. So the thing about that is you're either willing to feel your feelings or you're not. Numbing is numbing. You can't just numb out, challenging emotions. You're also going to numb out the ones that you desire the most. And so something that a lot of people know about me, like I'm a very, very joyful person. I'm very like, oh, I'm just like in the present moment. I'm making memories. I'm just like so happy. Like that is like my natural state. And at the very same time, I'm someone who really feels like when I met my niece for the first time, both of my nieces, I just sobbed. And I remember my brother-in-law saying, we love you so much. And just like your vulnerability so much. Like I remember him saying that. Because leading up to that moment, there was like a lot of people visiting. And I was like, no, I want to come when it's just us because this is a really sacred moment in my life. Like meeting my niece for the first time, that's a fucking sacred moment. And I'm not just going to breeze through it. I'm not just going to be like in the chaos of a bunch of visitors. Like I'm going to drop in. I'm going to be there and make sure I arrive when it can be a special moment. And then I just cried. It's like a big deal to hold your niece for the first time and meet them for the first time. And so that's always been one of my superpowers, is my willingness to feel. And I think that my compassion comes from there. My ability to obviously experience joy and power and bliss and abundance comes from there. And it also is, I'm realizing, a deep, 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 courageous, vulnerable skill set of emotional alchemy. Because something that I don't do as well is I don't allow my emotions to run my life, right? Like, honestly, some of the most productive times in my life where I achieved the most in short amounts of time were when I was processing the most grief, when I was processing the most pain in my whole life. And so what I did, how this shows up, because you can feel your feelings and not be at the mercy of them. And here's the thing, the only time you're going to be at the mercy of your feelings is when you don't feel them and they low-key run your life at the subconscious level, and you have no idea. You're blocking your blessings, you are numbed out, and it really is a fine line and a fine dance, like allowing yourself to feel. And this is where breathwork is so powerful, because it's a conscious portal of visceral release. It's a conscious portal of visceral, emotional, cellular, nervous system release. That's what breathwork is. That's why it changes my life every single day. That's why it changes my clients' lives. But let's be real. Sometimes I don't need to do breathwork to cry. And I was in a portal of like, just, I was having so many emotions, and I was like, okay, this isn't me thinking negative thoughts. Like, I feel this in my body. Like, this gets to be purged. This gets to be released. And it was very, very, very visceral. And that's what this is. This emotional alchemy is a visceral movement of energy that creates liberation. That creates liberation for you and every single life you touch. And when you heal an ancestral wound, when you heal an ancestral trauma, when you heal an ancestral pattern, you heal it 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. So not only every time I alchemize anything, I'm healing for my mom, my grandma, my grandma's grandma, my grandma's grandma's, right? I'm healing for my niece, my future daughters, my future grandkids, like literally my whole bloodline, right? And it affects my mission, it affects everything. And so this idea, this question of, is there more? I was deeply just like crying and sobbing and shaking and like hurting, like feeling hurt in my body. And I heard a voice say, is there more? And I was reminded of a very important thing I learned in couples therapy, which, shout out to my couples therapist, Jill in Chicago. Amazing. If anybody needs a recommendation, holla at your girl. She helped me and my previous partner with something called imago therapy. And, it's this idea and this process of allowing each person to fully express their truth and fully be seen and fully be known. And you mirror back to them what you hear to make sure, like, have I got it all? Have I got it all? And you mirror back. And one of the questions in the process is there more? Because you're holding space for the full breadth of the expression, right? And so I'm laying down and I'm sobbing, and it's like honestly, y'all, it was a wail. Like, I was wailing. And I actually turned on like some white noise in my apartment at one point because I was like, I just need to do this, but also I don't want all the neighbors to hear me. And it was like, is there more? And I just cried even harder because I was like, yes, there is more. Yes, there is more here. I didn't know there was more. Like what I'm going through, it feels like psychological surgery, like cellular rearrangement. And I'm going to get into this later in this episode, but moving to Maui has been the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. And it's also been the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, which usually those two go hand in hand in my experience. And Maui, before I moved here, like before I already had decided I'm moving, we're doing this. I realized in my astrocartography, which is when you look at like the places on the globe where certain energies are activated for you. So like there can be a Saturn line, a Venus line, a Mercury line, a North Node line, a Pluto line, right? I realized after I already decided and booked, everything, that my Pluto line runs through Maui. It doesn't run through any of the other islands, just Maui, the very place where I was called. And Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth and transformation and power and alchemy. And it's ruled by Scorpio. Scorpio is the most intense sign. It literally rules death and rebirth. So I've experienced a lot of death and rebirth on this land, and this land is very shamanic. This land is known to test you. It's just been a deep alchemical process for me. So I've been specifically right now, the past week, overall, the past year, I would say, has been a deep death and rebirth process for me. And then the past few weeks have been very, very intense for me emotionally. And I heard this voice, is there more? This voice, is there more? And I was like, yes, there's more. And I was brought to this knowing of like, when you're purging, it's just like throwing up. It's just like throwing up. You're not done until you're done. And this might be a gross graphic. However, it's really important to just be real about it. I'm so sick of the spiritual community and coaches and all of this being like, you got to stay high vibe, got to stay positive, mindset, mindset, mindset. And it's like, yeah, I have a powerful fucking mindset, but like, do not ignore your human experience. Do not ignore your nervous system. Do not ignore your emotions. That's when they start to fucking hijack you. And that's when you lose your softness and your connection to life itself. Okay. So I just kept hearing like, is there more? And it was like, yeah, there's more. There's more to purge. And you cannot move forward until you purge it all out. And the visual that came up is like when someone's throwing up. And it's like when you get to the bottom of your stomach and it's just that like gross bile, that's just like the worst. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's what it's been for me. And I allowed myself to go there because something I know is that, first of all, you're not done until you're done. And unless you get to the root of things, you cannot rise. Okay. And so it takes an immense amount of courage and trust and surrender. And something that I play with a lot in my life is like, okay, is this just like a weird, like low vibrational thought that I can just kick out and choose another one? Or is it a deep cellular release that's required? Is there just, because when I am crying, I'm not thinking thoughts, I'm just releasing. I'm just releasing. And this is the power of the work that I do, because so much of what the coaching industry does bypasses the nervous system and the human experience. And that's not what the spiritual path is. That's not what it is. It's being deep in your heart. It's being deep in your body. It's letting your body lead your life. It's being an alchemist of what's coming up for you and your bloodline and the whole damn world. Okay. That's the other thing, is like, if you're alive right now and you're an empath and you're a spiritual soul, you probably feel all the stuff happening on this planet. And it's important to not be constantly inundated with that information. It's important to stay in your power. All of that stuff is important, but ignoring your feelings and ignoring the state of your nervous system and ignoring what's alive for you is not correct. And we're programmed to do that. All right. One of the big things that I overcame in my life was this idea, like, I had a major block for a while. Like, I cannot be sad and successful at the same time. I cannot be sad and successful at the same time. But then I watched myself prove it again and again and again and again. Going through my horrible breakup, I won my first ever job that was a full-time, globally renowned job in the US Navy band. That happened while I was processing grief of a breakup, and I literally didn't even have a home. I literally was couch surfing. So this episode is just like an invitation to a different path with your emotions, and this idea of, is there more, and letting the full purge happen. And here's the thing, if you're someone who's been numbing your emotions your whole life, if you're someone who's been bottling it up, if you haven't processed certain things, like, there are people that have not processed what happened during COVID in their nervous system, and that will haunt them forever. And they don't even realize it, because they're just not tapped into the ancient code of the nervous system and what that all means and what it means for the subconscious mind. And yeah, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. You will not build a dream with 5% of your potential. You just won't. And the 95% of your potential lives in your nervous system, waiting for you to unlock it. And it's going to come through deep emotional reset and release and strategic, consistent, deeply cherishing, nurturing alchemy using your nervous system, opening your nervous system. You are designed to heal yourself. And something that I think about a lot with tears is, like, tears are the ocean. They're literally salt water. So it's like Mama Ocean is with you every time you cry. We are made of salt water, right? So that's what this idea of, is there more, is there more, is there more? You must allow the full purge. You must allow the full purge. And I guarantee you're listening and there's something coming to mind, something that you haven't felt, something that you've been unwilling to feel. Tara Brach, one of the authors that changed my life with her book, Radical Acceptance, one of her questions is, what are you unwilling to feel? What are you unwilling to feel? And that's a really important question. And what lies in the answer to that question is the portal to everything you've been seeking. What are you unwilling to feel? And so when you feel and you purge and you go all the way to the bottom, right? Rock bottom is solid. Rock bottom is solid. And that you can stand on that and you can rise up again. But if you're half-assing it, if you got to ask yourself, is there more? Is there more? Is there more? That's the only way you're going to fully express, fully alchemize. Okay. and loving yourself in this process. This is a process of really deep self-leadership and self-trust and self-love. And best believe I have my own mentors to guide me. I have my own healers to guide me and help me. Like, I am a fucking alchemist. Like, I walk this path, I know what to do, but I also am a human. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, this is a lot, like, I know that this is part of my process that I'm supposed to be doing, that I get to do, that's part of my next level, and you are seeking empowerment, support, healing, hire me as your mentor. Work with me one-on-one. Like, this is literally a big part of what I do. Like, yeah, we have goals and we have habits and we have all this, but none of that shit matters if you're not tending to your fucking spirit and your soul and just like the truth of the emotions that are flooding within you. And I guarantee your ability to feel, I say this because what you're willing to feel, you can heal. If you're not willing to feel it, you won't heal it. It'll haunt you forever. And this is coming from a previous addict. This is coming from someone who was haunted with sexual abuse in this lifetime, previous lifetimes, in my bloodline. If you feel it, you can heal it. That's the only way. And a lot of people, you might resonate with this, is a lot of people fear that if I allow myself to go there, if I allow myself to go down into the depths, if I allow myself to really go there, I'm never coming back. Is game over for me. Like, that's the fear that a lot of people have. And I even had that come up last week. I was like, yo, stay in your positive mindset, stay in the driver's seat of your life, just stay in it. Like you are the creator of your reality. And then I realized this is something that's important to know about discerning whether it's just a low vibrational thought you can squash, or a visceral emotional need that's knocking at your door, is if it keeps coming up. If it keeps coming up, keeps coming up, keeps coming up, it's coming up to come out. And so it's this idea of truth. It's like you must be in that process and discernment and knowing for yourself, is this just a random stupid thought that's not true that I can just kick out of my awareness and keep going? Or is it a visceral, repetitive pattern that's calling me to alchemize it? Okay, that's very important. And what I've been alchemizing, to be honest, I'm not ready to share on the podcast. I am not. And I really feel called to share the process without the specifics because it's so fucking important. And it's really important for me to be real with you about my process, about my journey, because a lot of people look up to me and other mentors, and you can put people on a pedestal like they don't have any challenge, it's so easy for them, blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, the reason that I have so many tools to share, the reason I have processes and systems and mastery, is because I walked this path with myself many, many times, and I'm walking it in a whole new way right now. So you will only be able to, you will only be able to be in that process of discernment if you have a deep, safe space held for you and you are consistently resetting your nervous system, because otherwise you will be in this loop of like, it's not safe to feel. And then you will not manifest what you desire to manifest because you will be in constant protection mode. And it's this loop from hell. You've got to be in that discernment. And it's impossible to be in full discernment of that if your nervous system is in disarray, with trauma, with fear, with being hijacked by the scroll of social media and technology and all of that. So that's something I help all of my clients with. If you are feeling this episode, apply for one-on-one mentorship in the show notes, book a session with me, email me, message me on Instagram, like let's talk, because this is my sole purpose, to help you move through shit like this as you pursue your destiny. Okay, because there's so much stuff that comes up. There's literally so much stuff that comes up, especially now as we move forward in New Earth. Like there's so much chaotic energy on this earth right now. So when I was in the super, super, super deep emotional purge. And then the very same question, which is the most beautiful part about questions and life and the spiritual path, is the very same question, is there more, came through, but it was in a different tone. And part of my spiritual gifts and my spiritual connection is like, I hear voices, I'm clairvoyant, like I see things, I know things, I feel things, I'm all the clairs, like I get all of them. But I heard the same question, is there more, in a different frequency, in a different octave? And it was this idea of more possibility. Like, is there more to your life? Is there more to the dream? Is there more to your divine assignment? And what I know for an absolute fact is that purging paves the way for possibility and potential. Purge paves possibility and potential. You cannot step into a new frequency of more, whether it's more impact, more love, more money, more contribution, more satisfaction, more freedom, more joy, more dreams, more what. If you're here in this community, you came here for more than the status quo, more than mediocrity. You came here to live as the real, full soul level you, which is in relationship of more. You're here for more. Okay. And there's always more. And that's what I love about life, is there's always a new level. There's always a new mountain to climb and create. And it comes back to this idea of more and possibility. And I went from a visceral, heaving, wailing sob to laughing in joy and gratitude, because I realized, is there more? The amount I'm purging, going to the basement of this purge, is paving the way for a whole new possibility of more. Is there more? Yes, there is, because otherwise I wouldn't be in this purge. Is there more to my dharma? Is there more to my destiny? Is there more to this life? Is there more to what's being asked of me? What's being required of me? Yes, there is, and I'm here for it. So it's really this idea, like purge, possibility, potential, like they can't exist without one another. Like, people say you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? One of my mentors says something that's deeply, deeply confronting and so fucking true. And she says this: you can't ask for more and shrink for less. So if you're asking for more in your life, but you're consistently shrinking for less, consistently settling, consistently breaking your own boundaries, consistently lowering your standards because you're scared, okay? You can't have that. You're asking for one thing, and then you're literally sending a command to the universe that you're available for something totally different. So the universe is confused about who you are, what you stand for, what you believe in, what you're manifesting. It's just a big confusion ball. Okay? You can't ask for more and shrink for less. So is there more? There might be more to purge. You might purge emotions. You might purge relationships, ways of being, ways of thinking, ways of moving through the world, habits, old systems. Like something I know every single person needs to purge is a relationship with social media and the scroll that takes you out of your power and hijacks your day every day. That has to be purged. That's not a nice to have. That's not a desire. That's a need. That's a need. So now I want to say just a few things about what I did to support myself through this process and what I will continue to do to support myself in this process, and what you can do to support yourself in this alchemical transformation. It's emotional alchemy. That's what it is. So first things first is you got to be willing to purge. And something that I did that really, really helped my mind, because my mind, it wasn't what was happening in my body that was, what allowed, what it was actually pretty easy to feel what was in my body, but my mind was like, what are you doing wrong? You're doing something wrong. This wouldn't be happening if you weren't doing something wrong. What are you doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? And then when that happens and my mind starts going cray cray, and I'm just moving through a lot, I go to the astrology. Astrology is always there for me. And I really sat with myself and I was like, okay, you moved to a place that's known to test people, that's known to initiate people. And you, not only that, your Pluto line runs through this. If you weren't going through major death and rebirth, that wouldn't make sense with the astrology. And then I started looking at, okay, like we had a Pluto Mars square. Pluto is actually sitting on top of my Saturn right now in my natal chart. And so it's like, it's a lot of angsty, intense astrology that I'm moving through right now. And so that really comforted my soul. So for anybody who's in a purge and possibility, is there more? Consult the astrology. If you don't know the astrology, book a session with me, work on me one-on-one. This is a big way that I support my clients in living in divine timing and with their soul blueprint. Okay. And that's another reason why I was like very called to just surrender into the purge, because I was like, it's literally Pluto, the planet of alchemy. I got to alchemize this shit. Like this whole transit is for me to discover my deeper level of power through my death and rebirth and alchemy. So that's the biggest thing. What else did I do? I reached out to people that can actually hold me in unconditional love and unconditional respect. Okay. I didn't reach out to people that would worry about me. I didn't reach out to people that would tell me, small thoughts. I didn't reach out to people that couldn't hold me with tenderness. I didn't reach out to people that would judge me or shame me, because, most people don't understand the spiritual path, like the mainstream, like you call them muggles. That's a Harry Potter term, but like muggles don't get it. A lot of muggles do not get it. They cannot hold space for it. And then you throw on, I'm an entrepreneur. Like the way I live my life, and likely the way you live your life, if you're listening to this episode, is way, way, way different than most people. Most people don't get it. Most people can't handle it. Most people will bring up more of your fear, more of your self-doubt, more shit that you don't need, that's not clean energy. So I got this message of discernment's coming in again. I got very, very, very clear that, wow, I'm going through a lot and I don't need to do this alone. So I reached out to my healers, my mentors, and I reached out to three key friends that I know that only can hold me in unconditional love, but unconditional power and unconditional respect. They believe in my ability to figure things out. They don't hold me in a victim mindset. They don't feel sorry for me. They don't feel bad for me. They're just like, I love you. I'm with you. You can do this. You're not alone. And let me tell you what, those friends are hard to come by. That shit just doesn't randomly happen. It magically enters your life, but it's like that's built over time. And I'm like so grateful. One of these people is my sister. And my sister, she's not like as deeply spiritual as I am. And there's a lot of things about the way I do my life that she doesn't get, but boy, does she love me unconditionally. And she always holds me in my power. And that deep respect that, like, yeah, you got this. Like, this is hard and I'm here for you. And also, like, you got this. So that's really important. The other thing, you got to get a mentor. You got to get a mentor. The mentorship is so important. Like, I come back to again and again and again, like my experience as a musician, like, and I grew up taking piano lessons, taking French horn lessons. I took pitching lessons for softball. I took batting lessons for softball. Like, anything I wanted to be good at, I always got a coach. I always got a mentor. I always got a teacher, because I was like, why would I waste my time in trial and error when I could go to someone who can teach me how to do it faster, and someone who can hold space for me to grow? And that's their job, is to see your blind spot. And that's their job, is to hold healing space for you. Like, flying without a mentor is actually really, really risky, and it wastes time, and it just is like, it's unnecessary strife and struggle. So that's a really important thing to do. And the other thing I want to share is, like, those are three important things you can do: is look at the astrology, reach out to people, and get a mentor. Okay. And then just really knowing that it's a cellular clearing out process that we're all being called to in some way, shape, or form every time you're up leveling. And it's going to get more intense as we move forward in New Earth. And if you don't do this process for yourself, this deep, is there more with the purge? And is there more with the possibility? You will calcify your heart. Okay. Your heart will start to close. You will start to get rust in your soul. You will close off to the magic of life. You will end up blocking your own blessings. You will block your own opportunities. You will block your own joy. You will block your own channel. You will block your own creativity. You will block it all. So I really just want to end this episode with a deep permission. And the question is there more? And I'm going to frame it to you in two ways. Is there more for you to feel, for you to purge, for you to alchemize? Have you gone to the bottom of things? And this could be in all different ways. I have clients of mine that are, they got to go to the root of their romantic relationship. They got to go to the root of money. They got to go to the root of what their purpose is. But they might be going to the root of what their purpose is, but they have an amazing marriage. Like all of these things, it's what is it for you? And are you willing to purge? And are you willing to feel the feelings? Right? Are you willing to be the alchemist? It takes courage. It takes time. It takes surrender. It takes trust. It takes deep fucking self-love. Okay. And then the other thing I want to ask you, is there more? Is there more possibility? Is there more dream? Is there more to life? Is there more healing? Is there more zest? Is there more beauty? Is there more joy? Is there more contribution? Is there more dream creation? Is there more feeling the full breadth of being human? Is there more to your life? Are you sick of going through the motions? Are you sick of being stuck in the spiral? Are you sick of this? Do you know there's more? Then I guarantee you it's meant for you, but you just got to claim it. And there's these two polarities that will exist, is a purging and a possibility with this question of, is there more? Because once you realize, is there more in possibility, you will be required to have more purge to make that possible. And when you realize, is there more with purging? Like, is there more trauma I haven't processed? Is there more emotion I haven't let move? Is there more deep, dark corners of my shadow I've been avoiding my whole life? Once you realize that and you're willing to go there, the more of possibility opens up. But none of it can happen without this question, is there more? None of it can happen without you being a deep wizard of emotional alchemy. Okay, so this is today's episode. This is a really important topic. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it. I think it's going to be, is there more? But it's like the alchemical process of transformation. So no matter what you're moving through, I want you to know that you're enough. I want you to know that you're loved. I want you to know that you can do it. You can handle it. Like, spirit would not be giving you this if you couldn't handle it. You're being sharpened. You're being shown. You're being called into the leader, the spiritual being, the mystic for New Earth that you came here to be. Okay? And you are so, so loved. You are so guided. You are so held. If you want my support, if you want my guidance, my healing, my mentorship, apply for one-on-one mentorship. I'm welcoming 3 new long-term one-on-one clients in June 2024. This is for you if you're ready to move through processes like this in your daily life as you step forward. This is for you if, when I say, is there more, you're like, yeah, and I've known for a long time and I'm ready to actually do it. That's how you know mentorship is for you. So if you feel a call in your soul, I can't wait to connect with you. Apply through the link in the show notes. That's all I've got for you. Go out there, be an amazing you, be the change, be the light, smile at a stranger, because you don't even know what they're processing. You could change their whole day. Be the change. I love you so much. And I will see you next time on A Better World with Adrienne.